Gentlemen, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Men of Bronze podcast. I'm the founder and host, Stephen Lopes. If this is your first time joining us for an episode, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I hope you gained something of value in this conversation that you can implement in your daily life. Our goal here at Men of Bronze is to provide you with conversations that allow you to upgrade your life as an everyday man, whether that's as a father, a husband, an entrepreneur, a coworker, an employee, whatever it is in your daily life that you want to get better at. These conversations are packed full of experiences of successful and hardworking men to provide you with those tools to improve your daily life and become a better man. My guest today is Mike Merrill. Mike is an awesome entrepreneur, a man of faith, a family man. He's an entrepreneur of About Time Technologies, a company he started over 17 years ago. He co-founded that company. We talk about the logistics of starting a company, how to take that from just an idea into a working product, how to create lifelong relationships with your coworkers and your employees, what that looks like from a budding seed to a flourishing tree. He's extremely successful, just an awesome guy, full of awesome experiences and great advice for the everyday man. So this conversation was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed talking with Mike. He's an outdoorsman, an avid hiker. You can check him out on Instagram. The links will be in the description. So a great conversation, guys. It was a lot of fun. We had some good laughs, some good times, and I would definitely consider Mike a good friend now. He's just an awesome guy, guys. So I hope you find some value in this conversation. And before I let you guys get into the conversation, I want to ask you to join me on Instagram. You can find me at Stephen Lopes _MOB. The description or the link will be in the description below, so you can find that there. And that's where the home base of Men of Bronze is, really, on the Instagram, and also our website, www.menofbronze.ca. You can join us for the podcast on the website, or you can follow the blog there, guys, as well. There's tons of information on the blog and some really good stuff coming out of that as well as it grows a little bit larger. So guys, please rate, review, share, and subscribe to the podcast, whether it's on YouTube or your preferred podcast platform. I really want to ask you guys to share this with your friends. There's a lot of men out there that have no idea that there's podcasts specifically for them. And there is. Men of Bronze is for the everyday man. So we can improve ourselves. We can be better husbands, fathers, entrepreneurs, you name it. So share it with your buddies. Share it with your dad, with your son, with your best friend, whatever it is, guys. Share the podcast around and spread the word. And most of all, guys, I hope you enjoy the conversation and I hope you gain something from it. This is Mike Merrill. How are you?
Doing fine. How are you doing?
Doing well, man. Thanks for joining me.
Good. Absolutely.
And thank you for being so versatile too. I know I kind of canceled on you last minute there last night, so I appreciate it.
That's all good.
I don't know. I'll put it in the wrong day on my calendar, I guess.
No problem.
So,
it happens.
Took me by surprise, and I'm doing, as you saw on my Instagram page, I'm doing the carnivore for a month. So
wow.
I cut coffee out as well.
Oh boy.
So last 2 days I've been like pounding headache.
That'll
do
it.
I was like, if he's down to do it tonight, I'll do it, but I'm hurting, so if he's willing to skip for one night, I could use 24 more hours.
Right.
So feeling much better now.
Good. How far into it are you now? Just a couple days?
Yeah, this is day 3.
Oh, cool.
So,
all right.
So far so good. Have you done pure carnivore at all before?
Not like that. I've done some keto. It's probably a hybrid, similar. I would imagine, but yeah, it's a little tough for a minute.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that maybe keto for the first would have been a better idea. Just kind of cut the carbs, but I'm all in now, I guess.
Right.
And I posted on my social media, so now I have to follow through. It's on my website.
Accountability,
too.
right?
So,
yeah, accountability.
I don't want to cut out on day 4, and I have a blog on my website and everything too, and it's like, right. What happened there?
That's funny.
So it's been, I'm finding it boring, which I think is the biggest struggle right now. Is I love meat, and it's like a staple, obviously, but having only meat I'm finding right now is boring. So I need to find some ways to kind of spice it up a little bit. But
tried cayenne pepper? Oh, jalapenos? Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't mean literally, but maybe literally too.
Yeah, it's very restricting, right? Because it's supposed to be like no sugar, none of that kind of stuff. So basically any sauce is off the
Yeah.
table.
Yeah.
So I have been using like Montreal steak spice and stuff though,
Oh, nice. That
which,
stuff's
you know,
great. I use it on everything too.
yeah, it's mainly salt, right? Which is fine.
Right. Right.
But yeah, anyway, I'm finding it quite limiting and a little bit boring right now. And I'm craving stuff I don't normally crave. And I think it's because it's like taboo.
Right. Right.
Like, since it's not allowed, my body wants it.
Right.
But anyway, anyway, we'll see how it goes.
Sounds
We'll see.
good.
But how are things with you?
Doing great. Thank you. Doing well. Plugging along. Just dealing with the crazy like everybody else around us. Trying to keep busy and focused on my goals and the things I can control and you know, do my best to be supportive of those around me. But generally, yeah, my family's well. My community's good. Live in a really nice mountain town that's, you know, peaceful, quiet. So.
Good. And you've got 4 kids, right?
I do. Yep. 3 girls and a boy.
Nice. How old are they?
So my oldest, she just turned 20, or she's getting ready to turn 23, and she's actually expecting her first. So I'll be a grandpa here soon. Which
Wow,
is
congrats.
crazy. Thank you. Young grandpa. I'll be 40. I'll be barely 47 when.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Grandpa.
Congrats.
So, thank you. Then I have a 22-year-old son, and then a daughter that's just about 18. She just graduated from high school, did the drive-through graduation. So
yeah.
a little different with the COVID thing.
Crazy.
And then I have a daughter that's going into 9th grade that, you know, it's kind of the caboose. So.
Cool. Yeah, congrats, man. That's awesome. That's so exciting, coming a grandpa like that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, I bet. I know my father-in-law, he loves being a grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just the best thing ever. And my dad, too. But, you know, what a great time. It's, you know, they always say you get the best of both worlds, right?
Right.
You get to do all the playing, all the fun, and then just send them away, and she can deal with the hard part.
It's like playing with someone else's puppy.
Yeah.
When it's time to take care of it, clean up things, you know, you can, you know, peace out.
Yeah, it can pee in your house. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's exciting. I'm sure your wife's excited as well.
Yeah, we are. We're very excited. Yeah, we've been looking forward to it for a long time.
Good. When's the baby coming?
So baby is due on November 28th. Don't know whether it's a boy or girl for sure yet. So we'll see. Supposed to find out next month. But
they're going to find out?
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we've kept both of ours secret to us as well.
Okay, cool.
And we found that was a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
I think if we do round 3, we'll probably find out just so we're more prepared. But it was fun. It was a fun surprise for the first 2 to find out what they were when they came out.
Yeah.
It was exciting.
I'm sure.
And it's 2 girls, 3 and 2. So.
Oh, cool! What a fun age. A tough age, but they are just so cute. So.
Yeah, it's tough.
Everything's new and exciting for them at that age.
Yeah, and they're a blast. And, you know, Dad's still a superhero, so.
Yeah, you'll enjoy that for a little bit longer.
Yeah, good. I'm assuming until they're like 9 or so, then I'll become the stupidest person on the planet.
Yeah. I was gonna say I knew everything when I was like 14, and now I don't know hardly anything.
Yeah.
I think I realize that by now. But
yeah, the world humbles you real quick when you get older.
Right.
Awesome. So Mike, I'm super excited to have you on the show because you've got a lot to offer. You're an entrepreneur. You're a father. You're a mentor in your community. I'm assuming, a church leader from what I've seen for a couple of your videos.
Yeah, I'm active and try and maintain a faithful lifestyle and be a person of faith.
And then you're an entrepreneur and everything. So are you able to work at home during this, or are you guys still going in the office, or how are you guys handling this?
So we're back to the office now. We worked from home for almost a month. I do a lot of events and trade shows for our company. Company's called About Time Technologies, and we do a lot of construction trade shows. Actually, that's where I was messaging you earlier. I've been up to Toronto quite a few times, and Calgary also, and love Canada. But we do a lot of trade shows. So I was at a construction expo in Vegas called the Con Expo. The second week of March. And that was right when all this stuff was starting to get crazy. In fact, they canceled the last day of the show and ended it early just so people could kind of get home and not be mixing and mingling. There were like 100,000 attendees from all over the world. So. Yeah,
a bunch of the companies I work with were there.
Nice.
Kavanaugh Construction, all those guys, Louis Bray, all those guys that are local to Ottawa, they were there. and the guys had to go on lockdown. They had to quarantine themselves for 2 weeks when they got back, and
Yep.
so the sites were a little bit slow for a little bit, and
Yeah.
then we went full shutdown for a month. So
Yeah, that's pretty much what we did too. I mean, we worked from home, and at my office, we had all of our staff work remotely for 3 or 4 weeks as well, but we're all back. Our state is just moving to, I think they call it a green phase. It was
okay, green phase.
it was yeah, orange and yellow. Now it's green.
Whatever.
Must be green light, I guess.
How many employees do you have?
So we have around 40 or so. Few that are remote anyway, so that makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, about 30 or so on site.
Interesting. Yeah, so we have I'm in the field. It's a civil engineering company, so we have like 8 field staff, and then it's about 110 office staff, and everyone's still at home. That's in the office, so everyone's working remotely. They've brought their systems home, so and it's been working really flawlessly. Everyone's able to do all their design work, their meetings through Microsoft Teams, all that kind of stuff's been really fluent. So our company's not in any rush to bring everyone back. They would like to, obviously, and they will once it's appropriate, once it's deemed appropriate, I guess. But everyone's working, so it's nice. I was off for about a month. Field staff was off because every construction site was shut down. And but yeah, it's been nice to be back for sure. Back to feeling a little bit normal, being able to mingle with the construction guys again.
Yeah, that's the thing for us, collaborating and just, walking down the hallway. I mean, we, in our conference room, we sit every other chair and kind of have a big conference table, so we're kind of distanced appropriately. But it's, awareness is definitely raised, and, I don't know when it will ever be the same going in the grocery store and walking the opposite side of the aisle, and just the awareness of your space between others is very interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that stays a thing going forward, like the whole one way down this aisle in Walmart, which it's already tough. People already go the wrong way because it's so inconvenient to go all the way around.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's we'll see how that plays out. I think people's fear will diminish.
Yeah.
And I mean it already is. So yeah, anyway, I want to ask you about starting your business. You've been there for 17 years, right? 17 years ago you started this company?
Yeah, I actually was in construction before. I was a general contractor, and we self-performed a lot of work and had crews. And one of my best friends, like from high school age when I was younger, he was also in construction. We worked together, and then he started his own company, and basically through that experience of running our own businesses and being entrepreneurs, he had the idea that, maybe there was a way we could collect time card data and job information in an app, which at the time it was Palm Pilots back in 2003, 2004 when we were getting going. So we wrote an app for Palm Pilots and partnered with 2 software engineers and started a software company, and we've been doing it ever since.
So you're not a programmer yourself?
No, I'm more the biz dev side, marketing, sales. I've always leaned heavy in sales for my whole career. So,
wow, how did you go about? So you had this idea for a program. How did you even go about nailing down what you wanted to make, and then pitching it to some software developers in a way that, I mean, obviously they're not going to steal your idea or something. How did you? Because I've kind of had this idea before of, I'd love to make this kind of app or something, but it's I'm not a programmer. Where do you start? So how did you go about starting that?
So my partner, that's our CEO, named Ryan Remkus, his best friend since kindergarten was a programmer, and so he started talking to his buddy about the idea, and his buddy Corey Tanner said, "Hey, I could easily write something." Yeah. And so he started working on it, and after a couple of months of kind of working through it, realized that he needed some additional help and maybe some other expertise. I mean, he was really good at integration and making 2 accounting systems or 2 different systems talk to one another, share data. And so he specialized in that, but he had actually his older cousin was a senior programmer at a large software company. and he had written some mobile applications, actually that ran on the old Nokia flip phones. So way back.
Yeah.
And it was actually, he won an award for writing a program that would track his Atkins diet intake. So we were talking about the keto and carnivore thing earlier. Yeah. So he wrote that and won some grant and an award. So he was kind of already he had a knack for the mobile stuff a little bit, or cell phones. And so they brought him in, and then I knew and understood construction really well and running a business. And, I grew up in the trenches and in the field, and, as a laborer, and worked all the way through till I was a project manager and, foreman, superintendent. And then I started my own. So I just knew what problem we needed to solve and kind of how it had to function. And so the four of us, we would meet once a week. Every Tuesday night, we'd start at like 6 p.m. And a lot of times our meetings would go till 1 or 2 in the morning, just planning and dividing and conquering. And then we'd come back the next week and kind of deliver to each other what we had accomplished, what goals we had, been able to achieve, and then put another plan together for the next week. And we did that for 6 or 8 months. And then we finally actually had something, and we got it in the hands of people that we knew from the industry, and they loved it and thought it was the best thing they'd ever heard of, and an amazing idea. And so we knew we were onto something, and finally opened up an office. So
and were you funding the project with your current businesses at the start?
Yeah. So my partner, Ryan, he put about $30,000 just out of his construction business into it, just to get it started. And then eventually, basically, I was doing real estate and some development stuff. At the time, I'd kind of phased out of the day-to-day construction grind and was doing larger and different types of projects, got a real estate license. So I had a little bit more flexible schedule. And so I opened up our first office, just kind of split part of his construction office off, ran a phone line in and set up a desk, and just started outbounding. We built a postcard thing and mailed it out, made a CD, brought in a marketing guy to kind of mail some stuff out. So we picked the largest 1,000 construction companies in Nevada, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado, because they were all surrounding our state, and felt like if we needed to get on the road or go get in front of somebody to demo the software, because we didn't have, like we're on a Zoom meeting today having this discussion. But there was none of that at the time. WebEx wasn't even out. I mean, there was no GoToMeeting. So, you basically talk to people over the phone and, tell them your web URL, maybe email them a link, but there was no way to really share your screen. So as soon as we started showing it to companies, they just started buying it. They thought it was great. And so we, within a few months, we were cash flowing. And
so you were getting sales right away.
Yeah, immediately. I mean, within the first month, we had 5 or 6 clients. They had, paid some decent money, and we had enough cash to run, and have gone ever since. Haven't taken any private capital. We're, still bootstrapped and self-funded after 17 years.
That's awesome. And did you find it all at the first that you were kind of underselling the product, or did you raise your prices after you saw that it was valuable, or how did you handle that?
Yeah, we did for a little while, and then Blackberries came out, which was really awesome for us, because that was great technology. So innovative. And then we had GPS that was on the device and available, so we could put in a geofence and track where people were at, to confirm they're at the site. And then, Android and iPhone came onto the scene. So, we just continued to innovate. We've always been really good at talking to payroll and accounting systems like ADP or Paychex or Ceridian. And then also, all the big accounting systems, starting with QuickBooks all the way up to Oracle and SAP, Viewpoint, Sage, QuickBooks, Foundation, Computer Easy, Jonas from your area. Lots of systems that we were feeding data into, whatever construction companies were using to track their costs and run their payroll. So
that's awesome. And the guys who you started with, are they all still there now?
They are. Yeah, we work together every day.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, and you may have seen on my Instagram, I just built a home. This is the 3rd home that I built for myself over the years. And this one is my next door neighbor is my partner. That's our CTO. And then on the other side of him is our CEO. So we're 3 lots right in a row. And our other partner lives in another neighborhood that we all kind of moved from that area. So
So you guys were working from home, but you're having barbecues in the backyard.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, we can lean over the fence and, say
There's one
hello.
thing I know about you is you're getting that Traeger out there and you're grilling up in the backyard.
That's true. I'm letting the smoke flow to that. And you can smell the elk steaks that I'm cooking there on the grill. So,
That's one thing I have not tried is elk.
oh man. Okay. Well, I'm gonna hook you up with some when I get I'm gonna get 2 or 3 elk this year, I think. But I'll send you some steaks when I get.
I don't know if you can
Get it out
safely ship it to Canada and it's going to be still good. Is that even possible?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a way to make it happen.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I'm going to hold you to it.
All right. No problem.
So that's awesome. You guys had that success right off the bat. I mean, that's so cool. And what I love about it is that you had this idea with a friend and you guys just jumped right in and you said, let's do this. And you have no programming experience, any of that kind of stuff. You just went for it. Have you always been like an entrepreneur or someone who's willing to jump in like that? Or was that a new territory for you?
I have. I went on my own, started my construction business when I was about 23. So I got licensed about a year before that, and stayed loyal to my employer. But he slowed down. We got to kind of a stopping point in the project. We're waiting for the city to approve the next development phase. And so after about the second week of cleaning up his shop and reorganizing his tools and power washing his boat.
Yeah.
Some of the other guys on the crew thought it was awesome. They loved, hey, this is a nice break. And I'm saying, no, I got to keep going, man. Like, I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to expand. And so I, had been doing side jobs on the nights and weekends and already had a license and a business set up. So I just said, I'm going to boogie. And so I, started my own thing, and pretty soon my old boss and bosses were hiring me to do subcontractor work for them, and framing and concrete and carpentry, finished work. So yeah,
it was kind of a
never
jack
looked
of
back.
all trades thing you started, or you were just kind of doing whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything about when I was a little kid. I always wanted to build my own house, but my parents, we never built a home as I was growing up for ourselves. Everything we rented or then bought somebody else's home. But my parents had a dream home, set of plans drawn up, and they were always talking about it. And they bought a couple of acres of property, and there was this plan that we were always going to build this home. And so it just kind of was ingrained in me that that would be something really cool. So I always wanted to do it. I just didn't know how. But the girl that I was dating in high school, who's now my wife of 25 years, she, her father was a contractor. And so I was into sports, playing, baseball, and I played, fast pitch baseball even as an adult and into my 30s. I mean, I just love baseball and sports. And so I was always kind of doing that kind of stuff. And every time I'd come over and hang out with her in the evenings, he'd say, hey, you need to come work on my construction crew. And so finally, he talked me into, trying it out, and, just out of high school. And I loved it. I was learning and eating everything up, and thought it was just fascinating how things went together. And I mean, I didn't really know what a 2x4 was, or
Right,
anything,
sure.
how to swing a hammer or anything properly. Never really learned that as a young boy. I built skateboard ramps and things, but I just kind of figured stuff out. As I got into it, I thought, man, I could do this. I really enjoy it. So I just kept going, and that's where my life took me. So
That's cool. It's so interesting that I love hearing about people's paths, and especially when someone's successful, it's so interesting to hear how they got to where they were, because I think people forget that everyone starts at, stage 0.
yeah,
I mean, not everyone, of course, but
right.
for the most part, especially people who are self-made like yourself, people forget that like you could do this too.
Yeah.
If only you had the right idea or had the courage or whatever. What would you tell people, or a young guy who has an idea? What would you tell those people now? Or even if you could talk to yourself when you were 20 again, would you have anything to say to them?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I honestly would tell people to not be afraid to try new things, not be afraid to put yourself out there. I mean, I've learned just through my own life and experience that you can figure anything out if you're motivated enough. And
Mm.
even my first home, I was 22. My wife was expecting our second baby, and my boss had a bunch of lots, and they had these kind of pre-drawn homes, so we could just kind of pick from like one of 15 plans. And he let, basically I built my own home in his project, and I had done framing and concrete, and I did my footings, and I did a lot of the put my utilities in. Well, I thought, well, I could figure this plumbing thing out. Like, I know how, water flows downhill, and
Sure.
so I put the pipes in. So I just asked people, and this is pre-YouTube. So I just asked people that kind of knew. And then I got thinking, well, I could probably do my own wiring. Like, I've wired a light fixture, so I ended up doing the plumbing, the electrical. We painted the home. I was already good at finished carpentry, and I framed the whole thing. I did my shingles. Like, I just did, it took
Wow.
me 7 months, but the day I moved in at like 23 years old, I had like $60,000 of equity, and
Yeah.
I built my own house. I was only making like $12 an hour,
Right.
but so I didn't know how I was going to pay for the thing, but it was scary. My wife kept looking at me, like, even the day we moved in, she kept looking at me like, wait, is this really ours? Like, I know we're building it, but I didn't think we'd be able to keep it or have it. And we lived there for like 12 years,
Wow.
So,
It's, oh man, it's incredible how much work it is to build a home.
yeah.
Like, it's crazy. We didn't build our home, but I almost wish that we did our first one. We did a full reno of it, and
Nice.
it was like a full gut right back to the studs of the entire interior. And
That's almost more work than building a new one.
It was
in
it
a way,
definitely
right? You're
yeah, it definitely ended up
undoing and
being more
redoing,
work.
and you end up inheriting someone else's headaches.
Oh, and this house was built in like 1830 or something like that.
Oh wow.
So it had like a long history and
Okay.
a lot of layers. So
Yeah.
like some rooms had like 2 layers of drywall and then lath and
Wow.
plaster and then barn board, because it was are you familiar with balloon framing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've done
So
a
it was
bunch of
balloon frame. For anyone listening that doesn't know that, the studs go from the foundation or from the footing, or I guess foundation, right to the second story, right to the roof. So massive lumber. I'm not going to say 2x4s because it's not 2x4. So
timbers.
and then the floor joists from the second story are just nailed on, and then the barn board on the wall is what holds up the second story. So we pulled all that barn board off. We had to sister every stud, and anyway, it was crazy. And there was like, we found horsehair in the bottom, and you could look around the room at the footing or the foundation at the bottom of the wall, and it'd be like gray, black, gray. So you'd see they were shaving the horses as they and packing the horsehair in there. So that was interesting. We found a lot of cool stuff in there, but it was a heck of a journey. But it was worth it. So we had something to move into when we got married. We bought it a year before we got married and then renovated it for the year. And when we moved in, we had like no kitchen yet. So we were like washing dishes in the bathtub upstairs and cooking on a plug-in grill. But it was worth it. And we had a 5-year plan for it. After 4 years, that's when we sold it and made some profit. So we made about $50,000 off that. And then we were able to move into the house we have now. So yeah, it's an incredible amount of work. I would never do it again.
Congratulations though. That's quite an accomplishment, honestly.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it again. We had a lot of help from family, which was awesome, crucial, really. But I don't think I would do it again. It was just a little bit too much. I like doing projects around the house, all that kind of stuff. But a full reno, I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because my first home, I just did so much. I did like literally 80% of the work. My second home, I ended up framing most of it on an accident. And it was more because this was like 2007 and things were so booming here. Like you literally, you could not buy a framer. Like they were all 3 months out.
Yeah.
And so by my home was ready to frame, and I didn't have any framers, so I just started working on it because I used to do that and I knew how to do it.
Might as well.
Yeah. And it was a big home, but it took me like 2.5 months to get it ready for the roof. But, I framed 90% of it alone and, had family and people helping here and there when they could, but it kept me busy. And then, I enjoyed it. It was obviously, something that I loved doing, but this home, I hired all the framing out except for the basement. So I just framed my own basement because that was something kind of easy to do that I could progress on while they worked on the upstairs and the roof. So.
Guys, I want to interrupt this episode just for a brief moment to ask you again to subscribe to the podcast, whether that's on YouTube or in your preferred podcast app or platform. I want to ask you to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and please share it with your friends. There are men out there that aren't aware that there's podcasts out there made specifically for them. And that's exactly what we do here, guys. Men of Bronze is a podcast for the everyday man to become a better father, a better husband, a better friend, a better entrepreneur, a better coworker, and a better employee. Whatever it is, whatever facet of your life that you guys need to improve on, we are trying to provide you with conversations with successful and hardworking men that can give you the tools to be a better man in your everyday life. So guys, check out the website, menofbronze.ca, for the blog. You can follow any action related to the podcast and my personal life on there as well. There's other articles that I'm putting on there that are beneficial. So please get on there and join in, guys. You can put your email in the bottom of the page to get some updates via your email. And looking forward to going through this journey with you guys. So please rate, review, subscribe, and share the podcast with your friends, and enjoy the rest of the episode. When you say you frame the basement, you mean like because you have a concrete foundation, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So I turned the walls out, and then all the interior walls. I have you might have seen on Instagram. I have a kind of a man cave I built with like a safe door.
I commented on it a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I tagged my brother-in-law in it, being like, "Look at this as a gun chest."
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. It's like,
yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was fun. So that was cool. That was enjoyable actually, because I finished the whole thing. Kind of did all the different phases of the work, even the flooring and all of that too. So yeah, it's fun.
And the door is a big safe door, right?
Yeah, it's a big. It's about a 38 or 40-inch vault door. So it's like a 2-hour fire rating. There's 8 inches of concrete on all sides, even the floor, the ceiling, all the walls. So. Yeah.
And what's your idea of making it so robust?
It's actually my partner, our CEO, Ryan, the last home he built before he just built, 2 doors down from me, he had something similar, and I always wanted to have that opportunity. So when we were designing this home, I did it's about 300 square feet of cold storage under the front porch. And so I just always thought, I already had a gun safe, which I sold when I moved. Mm-hmm. And, rather than have, a safe that's sitting in the corner of a room, I thought I might as well just reinvest the money from the safe in the door and then build a room that I can enjoy and have a fireproof place where I can keep not just, paper documents and a few guns, but, everything, my archery stuff, all my camping, hunting gear that, and have a nice place to keep it organized and enjoy building arrows or reloading bullets or doing some of the hobby things that I like to do with some of the passions and pursuits that I have.
And have you gotten a chance to start building your workbench or anything in there, or?
So the bench is built. I still have to kind of organize where I'm bolting everything down. I haven't actually used the room quite yet. I built a fire pit out in my backyard. That was, again, another thing. I've never done anything like that. I laid the blocks and put the stone on and ran the gas equipment and bought the parts off Amazon and just did it all from scratch. So we have a really nice place to make s'mores and roast hot dogs out in the backyard now that's hooked to the natural gas. So I was going to
ask you about it.
So, yeah.
I saw you made the post about you building it, and you had your daughter was unloading the stones with your wife and everything. It was cute.
Yeah. It was fun. Try and make it a family affair whenever I can. So.
Yeah. Was that your youngest helping you out, or?
Yeah. Yep. She's just going into 9th grade now. So,
yeah. She's still in labor mode.
That's it. Yeah.
She has to help out. She hasn't earned her keep to not help out yet.
Still obedient. Yep. For about another maybe 6 months. So.
So what's next on kind of any kind of home building stuff? Do you have anything else planned, or right now is it like settle down and try and get this gun room complete?
So pretty close to that. Yeah, that's so I'm right for Christmas I got a kind of big garage storage cabinet, workbench type stuff. So it's still crated up in the corner. I haven't got to that yet, so I'm going to unbox that. I just got my father-in-law had a big dump trailer I just borrowed yesterday, so I'm just starting to junk and clean up and get rid of anything else that, I don't want around, so I can get the garage organized. And then as soon as I get that bench and everything out in the garage set up, then I'll go back to the man cave and kind of finish things up there. And that'll be it. The yard's all done. The landscaping's done. Everything's pretty well wrapped up.
Guys like you, there's never going to be an end. There's going to be something else that's going to come up.
That's what I told my wife. She said, "Oh, you're almost done with your projects." I'm like, "Oh, there's always more projects." So
always something, even if it's small. You're going to start building a bow or something. You're going to
that might be true.
You're going to link up with Knock On and build a bow or something.
Oh yeah, love me some John Dudley. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I have a good friend that owns kind of the he's like in charge of the reseller dealership for Hoyt and Easton Arrows. And his name's Alex Cole, really just a great guy. And he was asking me, "Hey, are you going to put a bow press in there?" And oh man, I hadn't even thought of that. And, maybe I do. And he says, "Well, let me know when you're ready. I'll see if I can hook you up a little bit with some archery equipment." So.
You're like, "I'm not sure, am I?"
Yeah, I am now.
What are you offering?
Yeah, that's right. So.
That's cool. So give me some advice on, I didn't even realize, like, you don't seem as, I'm not going to use the word old because that's not fair, because you're not old. But, you've been married for 25 years. You've got 4 kids, and you've gone through all stages. You've got one that's just going into high school, one that's, I'm assuming, married and having her first child. Give me some advice as a young father, young husband, and potentially young entrepreneur about how I can make the most of my life and the most of my family time.
Well, I'm not an expert in that, but I do have some experience. So I guess
I'm putting you on the spot here.
It's okay. So, the biggest thing for me, you alluded to it a little bit earlier. My faith has always been key to everything that I do. So, we have family prayers before we go to bed at night, and we have gospel and scripture discussions. Not just on Sunday, but different times during the week. So we try and keep kind of our Christian faith as the core to everything that we do. So I think just trying to have good morals and being aware of that, so our children grow up being familiar and recognizing that, so they have their own testimony. It's not just what mom and dad taught them. I was taught similarly, but when I was 19, I went on a Christian mission to Thailand for 2 years and learned Thai. And so I still speak that fluently, still remember it.
Wow.
And that was just such an amazing experience. So, coming out of that at 21 years old, it was like, felt like getting a doctorate degree probably in life compared to, a lot of young, early 20s people that are still trying to figure out what they want to do in college. And, I just had enough life experience crammed into that it really kind of set the stage for me to be ready, or more ready. I don't think anybody's ever totally ready to be a parent or a father or even a perfect husband, but that's just trial by error and kind of failing forward the best you can. So I think having faith that you're centered on, whatever your belief system is, having a good, serviceable, charitable attitude towards people around you, and a sense of community and brotherhood with people.
Oh, my dog's trying to say hi here.
Oh, cool. What kind of dog is that?
Emmy, come here. She's a black lab.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought. Her head looked like a lab. Yeah. I've had a couple of labs. They're amazing dogs. So, so I would say having that as your core, and then building around that. Everything else that, we talked about foundations earlier. I think having that foundation of faith that kind of guides you, that lighthouse that you could look to, keeps me centered and grounded at the same time. And then I think just trying to maintain that. I mean, I've always tried to be healthy generally. I mean, I don't drink or smoke, or I've never done drugs or any of those things. I don't have those vices that some people, you know, are dealing with and trying to work through, which I'm grateful for. But, you know, those things are just choices that I was taught young and have continued to make, and taught my children the same thing. So we're healthy. Actually, I took up running in 2015 is the first year I started running. I hated running, like, with a passion. I hated it.
Yeah.
Instead of now that I love it with a passion. And that was the same thing. Like, I just felt like I wanted to be healthy and be around to enjoy life and to raise my children. My father actually died of a heart attack when he was 45. So I'm 46.
Right.
And so I grew up, you know, I was 13 years old. So I didn't really have a father figure around for those formidable years, you know, into my teens and early 20s. And I just didn't want that for my family. And I was on a deer hunt actually when I realized that I had to make a change. I was, you know, had 20 or 30 extra pounds. And, you know, I just shot this deer up in a really steep part of this mountain called Timpanogos, kind of a famous, there's a famous cave there that people tore through quite a bit. But I was up in that area. It's very steep. And I shot this deer and went to hike up to get him. And I was all excited. And by the time I got up there, it was about 400 yards away. But it was steep. And I just about passed out. I mean, I couldn't even catch my breath. I couldn't do anything for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Once I got up there, and
So
I thought,
a rude awakening.
yeah, it was like this moment where, like, you know, there's times that we say, you know, I'm done with this, or I'm going to be better, or I'm going to, you know, whatever. I'm going to not eat sugar, or whatever our thing that we're going to do for New Year's resolution. Well, this was different for me because I finally realized, you know, if I'm not careful, I could become and experience something similar to what my father did. I mean, I have those genetics, so I got to make a change. So I made a goal that, you know, I'm going to start running. And so the beginning of that year in 2015, I set a goal. I was going to run 250 miles before Easter is what my goal was. And I just, you know, like eating an elephant, just one bite at a time, 1 mile at a time, one step at a time. I got there, you know, I got to like 256 miles on the day before Easter. And I thought, well, gosh, if I kept doing this, I have to keep going. What's my next goal? And I thought, well, I'm on pace to hit 1,000 miles if I just keep this pace up. Mm-hmm. And so that became my new goal. And I ended up, you know, in the middle of December, I was like 984 miles or something. And I thought, I'm going to run on the treadmill. It was like midnight. I couldn't sleep. So I ended up running 16 miles on the treadmill, and I stopped intentionally at 999.9 miles because I thought, you know, I'm not going to hit my goal at 2 a.m. on a treadmill. Like, I got to do something big. And so I decided, and I didn't even tell my wife this, I decided, you know what, next Saturday I'm going to run a marathon. And I'd never done it before. The furthest run I had done, like even 2 weeks before that, was like 8 miles or something. So I kind of, you know, I paced myself up to do about 10 or 12. And then that night I ran 16 on the treadmill. And I thought, well, I'm going to just rest up this week and kind of get my food right, make sure my fitness is good and I'm feeling good. But, and so then that Saturday I ran my first marathon and felt great. And, you know, just thought this is amazing, an amazing feeling of accomplishment and something that I want to keep pursuing. So I've been a runner ever since. I started trail running to keep it more interesting, and that's more my element. I love the mountains and hunting and the outdoors. So, you know, I trail run quite a bit, you know, 2 or 3 times a week at least, and try and keep really active. But I think being active, having a faith-centered lifestyle, being aware of your health, those things, they allow me to be a better father, better husband. I'm not cranky and tired and ornery, and, you know, I can be active and physical, and I can do whatever I want because I've made choices that will allow me to be able to do those types of things.
Yeah, I think those are fantastic. I actually talked about this with another podcaster. Corey's Got Questions. I was a guest on his podcast, and that's one of the things I talked about with him was, how can we be a good father? And it's like, well, everyone says, I want to put my family first. And as men, I think that's very important to put our families first. But we need to be careful, and we need to, it kind of sounds weird when you say it at first, but you kind of have to put yourself first so you can put them first. So you need to take care of yourself so you can be there for them. Take care of yourself mentally, spiritually, and physically, and then you can meet their needs once you feel good and you're kind of, up to snuff on those three things. It'll trickle down and you'll be a better husband, a better father, a better employee, a better everything, really. So
Yeah, I love that you said that. I completely agree. I do believe that you cannot, I mean, you hear of people saying, I have to learn to love myself first.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's just an eternal truth that, I know that God loves me. I know my mom and dad loved me. I mean, I knew that. I never questioned that. Some people maybe don't grow up in a home where they feel that, but no matter how we were raised or no matter where we've landed in life today, you got to love yourself first. And that means, I think, like you're saying, take care of yourself so that you're in a better place to care for those that you have stewardship over.
Yeah. And I don't mean, do your workout instead of having dinner with your family. That's not what I mean, but I mean, take care of yourself, but don't trump your family with exercising and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, don't take it too far. It's easy to kind of spin these things in a weird way, but take care of yourself for sure. And mentally, like, make sure you're reading the right books. Make sure you're part of some, like, I mean, in my opinion, and obviously in your opinion, make sure you're part of a faith-based community. Not everyone needs that, obviously, but it's something that that's big in our life as well. So we try and keep that as a key component. Obviously, something we can always work on, and keep yourself physically active, and you're going to see major benefits. And that's something that I was kind of, Adeline is 3 years old now, and I was always an avid gym goer. My dad was a gym owner for 27 years or something like that here in our small town. So I grew up in the gym, all that kind of stuff. When she was born, I sort of became too busy to work out. And for like the first time in my life, I had canceled my gym membership. So I went about maybe close to even 2 years without working out. I just kind of stopped. I was playing sports and that kind of thing, but I wasn't working out really, like, at all. And I kind of started seeing a bit of a dad bod coming in, and I was losing my, I was at my, I mean, I guess for lack of a better term, biggest. I was at my most muscular when Adeline was born. And so that muscle stayed with me for quite some time. But I noticed I was like, my definition's gone, my tone is gone, my size is gone, and I'm getting, bit of a rubbery belly here. Like, what's going on? I don't want to be that dad when I'm 35 who looks back and was like, oh, I used to be in shape.
Right.
So that's when I decided to make a change. Kind of similar to like your mountain story there. I kind of had a moment. I was playing with the girls and I was kind of like, I shouldn't be kind of like hurting squatting down to pick up a 2-year-old.
Right.
Like, it shouldn't hurt my knees at 29 years old.
Heavy breath.
Yeah, I mean, and for someone who's always been in shape and been like an athlete and been working out, that was a bit of an eye opener. And I thought I need to make a change here. And I was getting a little bit too comfortable with eating candy at night and too comfortable on the couch and just not working out. So decided to make a change. Did a bunch of reading, that kind of thing, and it actually kind of led me to making this podcast. That's when I kind of made the decision to be a better person, a better man, better husband, better father. And I thought, how can I do that? Well, start listening to podcasts. So I was doing that. I said, how can I make the most out of podcast? It's like, well, to get the most out of it, I got to host these conversations myself. I want to talk one-on-one with these guys so I can really get the most.
Yeah. Props to you for doing something to kind of incorporate that into, how you were achieving your own goals and kind of making the most of your journey. I know even for me too, my wife's a lifelong runner. She was, I remember when I first met her, like she had like an exercise bike, and she was constantly active. And I thought, this is kind of different. I'd never really dated anybody that was so into exercising, but
Yeah.
she still does that today, in her 40s. And so we enjoy running together when we have an opportunity. Those are my favorite times running, no matter what.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can get her up on the trail, or we'll just go on her path. But our kids, we take them. We have a daughter that's into running now. We do take our kids on a lot of hikes every year. We're just a very active family, and I think that, to your point earlier, making sure that you're taking time for yourself, but when you can involve your family and you're all benefiting together and you're building memories and experiences through something that's healthy, and also exhilarating and fulfilling, accomplishing goals, doing hard things. I mean, I think those things are all critical components of being an effective father and somebody that your children can not only look up to, but learn from. 20 years down the road, they're going to be doing the same thing with those kids if you show them by your example and not just your words, but you actually take them by the hand and go.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. One thing I wanted to mention too was this really stuck out to me when you mentioned that you wanted to get into running, and you said, so you set a goal that you wanted to run 250 miles.
Yeah.
This is where people trip up when they want to make a change, is they say, oh, I want to run more. But if you don't set goals that you can actually meet, or you don't set something that you can actually reach, you need to set something in concrete, something on paper that you can say, this is where I want to go. Because if you just say, I want to work out more, it's like, well, what does that mean? Like, oh, I want to run more. Okay, well, you don't run at all right now. So that could be, a jog to the bathroom.
Right.
It's like, well, there, you've met your goal.
Right.
So I think it's super important to actually set attainable goals. And obviously you knew that because you set an attainable goal, and it gives you something to actually go for. Because if you just tell yourself, I'm going to do this more, it's so easy to not do it. I'll start tomorrow, or I ran 2 days ago, I'll run tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. The thing too, and 250 miles is still kind of a lot when you've never done it at all. So what I did is I just broke it down by week, and I knew, like, okay, I got to get about 15 to 20 miles in, and I can either do it, 2 or 3 miles a day and run every day, or I can, go 4 or 5 miles. So I just gauge that to where, and this was a really key thing, because I was fortunate to not have any injuries that prevented me from doing that. I did have some strains and have to go to the chiropractor, or, kind of do a few things to kind of nurse, something that was sore along. But even if I had to walk for half of my run, I knew that I had to take those steps. Like in 1,000 miles, there's a certain number of steps for my stride.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take those steps with intention. And that, that was the other thing, is like, I did learn, I mean, at the time, like I used a Nike Run or Plus Run or something like that app at the time. That was helpful. So keeping track and keeping score and documenting. And then, like you said earlier, being accountable, because you said you're going on the carnivore diet, and so you posted it, and now people are going to be watching and looking and holding you accountable.
Yeah,
so I was
screwed
doing the
myself.
same thing, right? Yeah, I told people, here's my goal. My wife knew, my kids knew, everybody knew. We had a family reunion. Everybody's playing on this beach at Bear Lake, this beautiful resort. I'm like, I got to go for a run. They're like, no, you do it later. You don't need to run up here. I'm like, no, I'm going to go for a run. So I took my shoes off, and I'd never done this before, but I ran like 3 miles in the sand. And by the time I got back, my feet were just shredded and blistered.
That's like 6 miles.
Yeah, it was hard, but I was like, you know what? Like, I just learned to embrace and enjoy. I travel a lot for my work. I do a lot of trade shows. Like I mentioned, I've been to Canada a bunch of times, but I remember being in like Seattle and trying to find somewhere really cool to run, so that when I looked at my run path, it kind of had a cool design, or,
cool.
Just things to keep it interesting and to keep my ADD brain and attention on the goal, and not ever taking my eye off that prize, and gamifying it, just even for myself, was a really critical thing that, kind of helped me through those days when I didn't want to run, when I didn't feel up to it. But I still to date, never once, and this is absolutely true, even after 5 or 6 years of running, I never once look back after finishing a run and say, oh man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. And I never once have felt that way. So I just, that sense of accomplishment keeps me wanting to go for that next run.
That's a huge thing. And I try and keep that state of mind in other aspects too, even when it comes to, like working too much. It's like, I don't want to look back and say I work too much. I want to look back and say, I'm glad I spent so much time at home. Right. I don't want to, so it's good to keep that balance. And I completely agree with kind of gamifying things, because I do the same thing for my mountain biking. Is I record every ride because I want to look back, and I compete with myself. The app I use, it records. There's leaderboards and stuff on it, so you're competing with strangers. But I want to get the gold trophy on certain trails I like.
Right.
And I've been trying to get the gold trophy on a local trail here for a year and a half, and I actually just got it 2 weeks ago.
Wow, nice.
So I was pretty excited
awesome.
about that. Yeah, it was.
Cool.
I got 3rd place in September 2018, and I haven't been able to beat that time since.
Wow.
And just beat it 2 weeks ago, so it felt really good. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's cool. I on mine when I run, there's a now I use just my watch. I've got a Garmin Fenix 5, and there's just an app there, and it's linked to Strava, and then so Strava will auto post. And then my wife, for her birthday, I got her a Peloton bike.
Yes.
And we love that. I'm having a lot of fun there too. So that's kind of a fun community. And my Peloton, her Peloton posts my rides to Strava also. And so it's just nice to have that community and that sense of accomplishment that you can share. And other people, I notice people running around my town all the time that I'm like, gotta make sure I log in and give them a thumbs up or tell them, hey, great, it's good to see you out there. It's just raise the awareness to where it almost sounds cheesy sometimes. I know my kids think I'm just a nut because I'm like, oh, look, they're down there running. That's awesome. Like I always comment when I see somebody running, and it's because I can appreciate what they're doing. And I'm almost a little envious, but I'm happy. It makes me happy to see other people getting out and enjoying something that I have learned to love so much.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And it's weird that you kind of, when you get into a certain activity, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be exercise, but when you kind of feel a connection with anyone else doing the same thing, which is so interesting, right? You have like this instant kind of, I guess, tribal like community thing about it, where you have an instant connection with that person. You have something in common. And it's quite funny, yeah, and that happens all the time with mountain biking too. It's great.
Yeah, so that I'm really into archery and bow hunting and hunting generally, but the hunting community, I remember growing up, a lot of my friends, my dad, my father-in-law, people that I hunted with, it's like, oh man, there's some other hunters, and people kind of griping about each other and being almost overly competitive and frustrated. Oh, they're fishing in our spot. And it's like, well, it's not our spot. It's like, it's a public lake, let's go find another place. They beat us here. So, but because of just kind of all of this same, this mind work that I've done, through my journey, I've come to appreciate and want to support other people that are doing those things that I'm passionate about. So when I run into somebody on the trail, when I'm hunting, it makes me happy. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I don't feel, and that's just me personally anyway, but I've learned that, like you said, that tribal instinct, that brotherhood, that connection, like it just, I feel like they're another voice and another person that can help protect those things when they're threatened. When governments are taking control, or land is being developed and there's less of it available to enjoy and recreate and do those things. We need more people to help fight for those things that we enjoy and to keep them public and available. So I think we're all in this together, and that sense of community is really important when we're pursuing any anything that we're passionate about.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same way. I love being able to connect with people in certain ways, and I love supporting people within hobbies that I'm in, because I want to see those things grow, especially coming from a small town. I want to see those things grow in my small town, because it's not like a city where you just log into Facebook and it's okay. There's 30,000 mountain bikers I can roll with. I'm in
Yeah.
a town of 5,000 people. How many people do you think
Yeah.
mountain bike here?
Right.
Not many. So,
Right.
um, you mentioned like your mindset and stuff, and you mentioned before to me, not during this conversation, but that you are like kind of like an avid reader of motivational books and self-help and that kind of thing. Are you reading something right now that's current, or do you have a favorite that you'd like to share, or any favorites?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like As a Man Thinketh is a great book.
Yeah, I just
There's
bought that actually. I haven't read it yet.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. Yeah, Think and Grow Rich.
Mm,
There's another one by a guy named Seth Godin called The Dip, and I love that book. It's a really quick read,
the
but
dip. I'll write that
The
down.
Dip, um, and it just kind of talks about where you're kind of working through something. Like when you first get going, it's like it's downhill, it's kind of easy, you're excited, you're motivated. But as soon as you get through that dip and it starts going back uphill and starts to get difficult, that's when most people quit. I mean,
Yeah.
you've heard the analogy probably about, I think mile 22 is where most marathoners fall apart and
Oh,
quit.
okay. Yeah.
And it's like, they're like 3/4 plus of the way. And anyway, this dip happens when things start to get difficult. And it's like, if you're looking at it from a competitive standpoint, it's really, that's the moment when you have more opportunity, because there's less people the herd is already getting thinned by
Mm,
default because it's getting more challenging. And so most people will not have what it takes, like an entrepreneur, to work through it, to figure it out, to stay up late, to get up early, to do those extra things that it requires in order for you to accomplish your goals, and be successful, like to will it. When I was a little kid, I mean, again, my father died when I was young, but one of the things he actually worked for a life insurance agency, and had teams of guys, and he was always into motivational things. He'd have us come, and I was like 8 or 10 years old, and he'd have me come and do like 50 push-ups in front of this team, group of 100 people, and he'd give me like a can of soda pop or a candy bar or something, and he would hold that in front and say, if you finish these push-ups, and I'd be struggling to get 46, 47, he's holding it in front of me, but he would always teach us and use the phrase mind over matter. And so that just stuck with me. And I've always thought, what the mind
mm,
can believe and conceive, it can achieve. And so I think, there's phrases by, like Cameron Haynes is a well-known ultra runner, bow hunter, avid, somebody who's really into public land and that community of bow hunting and archery, that I really look up to. And he's always talking about, and has like hats and shirts, and it's all mental. It's all up here in your head.
yeah.
And so I think that's the first thing, is overcoming those mental challenges, and that dip is mostly mental, I think, that we work through. So
Yeah. It's the biggest thing about it. It's easy to get caught up when you do read these kind of books too. It's easy to get caught up in reading all these books, but you have to also implement the teachings within them too, which is, I think, a lot of people miss that point. You can read 500 self-help books, but if you don't start implementing any of them, you're not going to get any better.
Right.
I mean, maybe a little bit, because it might affect it might naturally just affect your mindset, garbage in, garbage out, that kind of thing. So if you're putting in good stuff, you're going to output good stuff. But you need to implement these good things too. But it's good to keep these kind of things in the back of your mind. So yeah, I've been trying to get back into reading more. I started reading a lot of fiction a couple of years ago. I enjoy fiction, so that's been fun. There's a bunch of them right here.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also been trying to read some better content books like these ones. So
yeah, that I see in your background. You have "Don't Burn This Book." I've got that one on order, actually. So
yeah, I haven't read it yet. And then this is Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
Yeah.
Have you read that?
No, I have not. It's on a list that I have of about 10 books. Both of
Yeah, it's
those are.
great. And
So
then this
yeah,
is Man's Search for Meaning, the blue one.
yeah,
Have you read Man's Search for Meaning?
I have. Yep.
Yeah, so that's a great book. That's one of my favorites I've ever read for sure. That's a great book. So I've got a quote from that is the background on my phone. Actually, is he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. So I try and keep that one kind of in my mental day to day, and that can be through any aspect of your life. It doesn't have to be being in a Nazi run concentration camp.
Right.
It can be anything. It can be your boring 9 to 5 job.
Right.
But if you have a why to be there, you can push through it. And that why can be your family. That why can be, a future goal of starting a business, your side hustle. It can be anything.
Well, I never, and it's interesting. I mean, I explained how my running journey started and what it was that drove me to that. And it happened to be hunting, which I love very much.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it my whole life. I don't know why. I was like, when I was turning 8 years old, my birthday's October 28th. So it's right around the deer hunt here where I live. And that's all I wanted for my birthday was to go on the deer hunt with my dad. Like, that's what I told him I wanted. He's like, no, what do you want for your birthday? I'm like, I want to go on the deer hunt. Like, that's what I wanted to do. But it's funny that took me full circle to actually living a more healthy lifestyle so that I could enjoy hunting in the mountains.
Yes.
More, without pain.
Yeah.
So,
and then be there for your family.
Right. That's the again, the most important thing.
Yeah.
But it all ties back together and really back to, it's like I was just out in southern Utah this last weekend, just went camping one night and picked up a bunch of trail cameras that I had on an elk unit that I was hunting in last year. And, I think I hiked like 15 miles in, like basically less than a day. And my pack, I figured, was almost 100 pounds by the time I was done. Just the stuff that I had in it. I had a blind, had like these little stools that were inside of the pack. I mean, I looked like a homeless hermit up in the mountain there when I was coming out to my truck. All these, I think there were like 12 or 14 trail cameras in the pack, and the bear boxes that are metal, and it was just this heavy weight. But it was so fulfilling and rewarding just to go back and remember all of the different experiences I had on that hunt, all the places I'd been, what I had seen. And then to pick up these cameras and bring them home and check all the cards, and it's like Christmas, looking at all the surprises. So,
yeah, you shared some of the footage too on your Instagram, right?
Yeah.
So it's been
I've
cool.
There's hundreds of awesome things that, of cougars and foxes and badgers and, elk and deer, just really a lot of fun things to look at that I was able to get there. So.
Do you feel, this might be a bit of a weird question, but do you feel like a little bit more, like when you're hunting and that kind of thing, do you feel more connected with, I don't know, I'm trying to say more like pioneer like? Do you feel like you're kind of disconnecting from, the technology and that kind of thing when you're out hunting, or is there a bonus for that, or why do you really love it on top of obviously the camaraderie and the nostalgia and that kind of thing?
I think, to me, hunting is always, there's something primal about it. There's something that I feel like a provider and like I'm fulfilling what I'm here to do. I take it pretty extreme for, compared to some people, as far as like you mentioned the Traeger. Well, that's another tool that I use to complete that circle of why I'm hunting. I want to share that meal with my family, and it's interesting. I love cooking, and I actually like baking and cinnamon rolls and even fun stuff too. There's things that I'll make that for the whole hunting camp,
right.
Make up like 5 dozen cinnamon rolls and bring them to deer camp, just as a provider. But the hunting side of it's like, I'm going out and preparing before the season to find out where the game are at. And that's why the trail cameras. And at the same time, I'm getting exercise. And I'm also out and connecting with nature. Mm-hmm. And I'm enjoying creation. And, I notice every sunrise and all the sunsets. I notice the beauty of just being outdoors and God's creation. I have great reverence for the animals, even that I'm hunting.
Yep.
99% of the experience has nothing to do with killing an animal. It's the process and the journey of going through that and the preparation. And then when you are successful, being grateful that that animal is providing for your family, which is my role. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm not doing it at Walmart where I'm paying someone else to kill my meat for me.
Yeah.
I'm getting it myself off this dang mountain and bringing it down on my own back, at the sweat of my own brow. And then when I bring it home, I actually, again, I learned this from my father-in-law. I'm so grateful, for the mentor that he's been to me in hunting and kind of that lifestyle. But I always thought it was crazy because we would always take our deer to the butcher, the meat plant, packing plant, where they would cut and wrap it. And well, he never did. He would always bring it back, and then we would all gather together and meet a couple of nights until everything was cut and wrapped. And we were, we'd cut the steaks ourselves and wrap it and mark them. Wow. And then we would prepare the meal. And so I've just taken on that tradition that I learned from him. And so, I got an elk with my bow a couple years ago, and I was all alone, and I spotted that elk all alone. I made a plan all alone. I went and I was able to be successful and shoot with my bow on my own. I took 3 trips. It was I think it was 18 miles total of hiking back and forth to my truck with this meat. And
wow.
In 24-hour period, I went from spotting that elk to I was at home with the elk in a cooler in my garage. And then the next week I was cutting it up, wrapping it. And then the next week I was making it on the Traeger and sharing it with my family. So it's just that full circle experience of appreciating the life that animal gave to help sustain my life and the life of my family and provide that for them. I think is just the ultimate example of being a true provider and not having to be dependent on others to care for and to nourish and help my family to not only live and survive, but also enjoy and appreciate what God has given us and these resources and abilities that I've developed to try and kind of complete that circle and fulfill what I'm here to do. So
that's awesome. That's inspiring for someone like me too, who's just getting into the whole hunting scene. I just bought my first gun and waiting on my hunting license, but it's been postponed due to COVID.
Oh yeah.
So sure. Yeah, the course was supposed to be in April, but didn't happen, unfortunately. But we're going to try and look into it now and try and get the ball rolling on that because my brother-in-law is an avid hunter. And so
that's awesome. You gonna hunt white-tailed deer or elk or what do you hunt?
Yeah, it'll be deer. Yeah, we don't have elk here.
Okay.
So there's an elk farm around, but it's
yeah, a little different deal.
A little bit different, yeah. So yeah, it's mainly just deer around here. So that'll be the idea. And he does a lot of fowl. So he does a lot of bird shooting and that kind of thing. So he's gonna kind of show me the ropes on that. And yeah, it'll be fun. So we'll see. He got his first deer last year, actually.
Oh, awesome!
So he was pretty excited, and he got it right in his backyard.
Wow!
So he's pretty excited about that. So hopefully we can do that again. And I would love nothing more than to even just be there with him, if he gets one or I get one, whatever. To have that have that connection with each other and to experience that together would be incredible.
Yeah, and I love the other thing too. I've always kind of loved this, but now I appreciate it more. I love sharing that meat too with neighbors, friends, family, especially
Canadians.
like you said. Yeah, Canadians. You said you never had any elk. It's like, oh man, I gotta get you some elk, because it's again it. I don't know. We always joke and say this is the most expensive meat on the planet. It's probably like $1,000 a pound if you look at all the money and the time and the effort that it really took. But at the same time, I feel like every ounce of it is completely worth it and more because of the experience that I get in pursuing it. So.
Well, I keep hearing it's like the most delicious meat.
It really is.
I mean,
man,
how often does Joe Rogan say that? I'm not sure if you listen to Joe Rogan, but he says constantly. He's like,
yeah, I just finished another actually one I've heard like 3 times. Him and Cam Haynes were talking about their elk hunt in Utah.
He just freaking loves elk, man.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, it is that good for sure. So.
Well, we've rounded well over an hour here, so probably a good time to start wrapping up. let you get back to your family. There's 2 questions I have for you near the end. The first question is, how can we be more effective men? And you can answer this any way you want.
I think, I guess defining what it is to be a man, for different people, they may have a different vision of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think ultimately for me, I know that I have the responsibility to provide not just financially or a roof over my children's or my wife's head, but I need to be someone that's here to protect them. I'm here to provide not just sustenance and nourishment, but also guidance and direction. I think it's important that for me to be effective at what I've been called to do. I feel like being a man is a calling. It's an opportunity for me to fulfill the service of those that I've been entrusted with. God has given me the opportunity to have children and a wife that counts on me and depends on me for safety and for protection and guidance. And so I'm not her boss. She's not, well, she is mine. but
is she in the room there?
No, but yeah, if she ever hears this, no. But really, when it comes down to it, we make those decisions together. So I think part of being an effective man is also being humble and being able to not just lead, but follow and learn from others. Even if it's my wife or even my children can be an example to me as their father. So always being malleable enough to know that I don't know everything, and humble enough to accept that, I can learn something from anyone. I don't have to have all the answers, and that's okay. I know I don't know everything, and that's also okay. And so I think just having that level of humility while you're in the pursuit of fulfilling those other responsibilities is really a critical thing that's helped me find that balance and feel like even though I'm not doing a perfect job, I am doing the best that I can.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Great response, Mike. I appreciate it. The last thing is where can people find you online? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, thank you. So just on Instagram, just Michael T. Merrill, just my full name is where I'm most active. My Facebook's linked to that same thing, Twitter and all that. Our web address at my business is www.workmax.com. And I, help run the business. I'm there every day and kind of involved in operations and everything going on there. So people find me there actually from time to time also. So.
Yeah, good. Awesome, Mike. Well, thank you so much for joining me. You truly are a man of bronze. You've brought a lot to the table here. You're definitely someone that's worth remembering. So I appreciate you coming on the show, sharing what you have for us. And I appreciate you in general, man.
All right. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you. And I look forward to that elk meat coming right at you.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm so excited.
All right. Well, let's catch you later.
Enjoy the rest of your night with your family, man. Have a good night.
All right. You too. Thanks, Steven.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Remember to visit our website at www.menofbronze.ca. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram and share the show with your friends and family. This was the Men of Bronze podcast. Be worth remembering.